Last week in the House of Parliament I made a speech on the passing of the Human Rights Amendment, particularly on sexual orientation, 2 words and a comma. I have always strongly advocated equal rights and have from the very depths of my being been entirely opposed to discrimination in any form. I have strongly held views on the division of state and church, and those types of views were very strongly expressed through the eloquence of Mr. Michael Scott, a member of the opposition, in his speech. On reflection, and after discussion with many people, including people of strong faith and those of non-faith, I appreciate that some of my words, and those are the actual words, not some of the inaccuracies that have been attributed to me, and there have been many, that were clearly, some of those words that I spoke, were clearly hurtful to people in this community. One senior pastor, who I reached out to, who I respect, told me that he felt wounded by my words, as did people in his congregation. I recognize that both he and other pastors have given much to Bermuda and this community, and I am truly saddened by this, and I apologize for any wounds that they have suffered as a result of the words that were spoken by me, the actual words spoken by me. Now, whilst I believe passionately in the right of free speech, and I do, as a fundamental premise of our democracy, if what I have to say causes hurt or anguish to any individual, then I am deeply regretful for that. I am deeply regretful for that. And I would say I am unequivocally sorry to anyone who felt that way as a result of what I said. I can't help how people feel, but I can truly be sorry for it if my words occasion them harm. I've not been asked or directed to apologize by the Premier or my Cabinet. My mother was a bit more keen on that. I have taken this course purely on the basis that I do not wish to have the flames of division fanned any more by the spark of anything spoken by me. There have been some very hurtful things said about me personally, and even threats of violence that have been made against me, to me, over this issue. And I entirely forgive anyone who was aroused to such sentiments. In like mind, I'd ask for your forgiveness. Lessons have been learned, and there's a lot that needs to be done in this country, and I would like to get back to contributing to that work and let this pass as best it can. Thank you for coming.
You said you were not directed to make this apology, but you had at least, to my count, 3 opportunities to do this. And so what changed your attitude?
Well, you know what they say, Io, the essence of wisdom is to recognize your own ignorance. I believe that very strongly. And I could sit and try and justify things that were said and what they meant and what the meanings are, and endeavor to placate it that way. So, reflection doesn't always happen like with Paul on the road to Damascus, where you get struck by the bolt of lightning. Sometimes you take a few days, you talk to a few people, you listen. And I think that one of the things I've always prided on myself in trying to be a good advocate, I think the key to that is being a good listener. And I have listened, and you have to do soul searching in these things. Sometimes you get up on that hill and you feel very passionately, and there's truth in that. And then you have to reflect on the other things. So I don't think that missing an opportunity at the first gate. I missed 3. Okay. All right. So
I don't know if they were.
I don't know if that makes me 3 strikes and I'm out, but
No,
I'm making out. Okay. All right.
How it evolved in so few days.
Well, just like that. I think that's.
Did you write that speech, or was it written for you?
I wrote this speech. I write most of my own speeches. Every word was mine.
Thanks.
Could you elaborate on the threats of violence?
No, but they happened. They were real. I mean, it happened. But I want to move on from that. My emotions were aroused. In all forms. In all forms.
Could you speak to the inaccuracies that you mentioned?
Well, yeah, there were many inaccuracies. I mean, things have been said that I said things in relation to Christians. I don't think I ever used the word Christian in the whole of my speech. You know, the written word, as you all know, because you carry the sword, can be very dangerous. And, you know, if people actually listen to the speech, you know, it wasn't the fire and brimstone that has been put out. It was pretty mellow for me, really. That doesn't take it away from the power of the words, but it was. But, I mean, you know, it was initially portrayed in a way that was inaccurate, and I don't blame you for that. That's, you know, what was put out and what was said.
The opposition has questioned your decision-making abilities, both with the debt scandal and with your comments in the House. Now they want you fired.
Yeah, I'm sure they do.
These examples that they've pulled representative of the decisions an Attorney General has to make over the course of the day?
Cooper, you know, I can tell you, I've been in this job just over 6 months now. I make dozens of decisions every day. I advise the Premier and the Cabinet Ministers every day. Anybody who's been an AG worth their salt knows that. You know, I have great advisors. Some of them are in this room. I have consultation with people and lawyers every day. I have made hundreds of decisions over the 6 months of my tenure as Attorney General. You're not going to know about them all. Some of them are impacting, and you know, we see them. You don't necessarily jump up and down on everyone. That's what the job involves. So if the opposition has a query about me getting 3 things on their view not right, you know, then no one's perfect. I don't necessarily agree with that, but I don't think that certainly anybody is asking for my resignation or questioning my performance. But, you know, that's for other people. You have to ask them, you know, what the performance is. They highlight 3 things. But as I said, I make a lot of decisions every day, 6 days a week.
So you're not worried about getting the sack?
I'm not worried about getting the sack. You know, and I mean, now having said that, you know, I always just say you're only as good as your last case, right? So every day I come to work, I've got to be as good. If I make a bad call or a wrong call, you know, that's where it's at. So you can't rest on, you know, a lot of laurels. You've got to press on. It's a tsunami at times, and you know, you got to roll with it. And I signed up for the job. I'm doing the very best I can, and you know, members of the opposition know that. I've advised members of the opposition. I've advised when they were ministers. I gave advice, you know, and when I've given advice to previous premiers. That's the way it goes. You know, people talk and seek advice. So, you know, I've represented any number of people in the Progressive Labour Party over the course of the years. So.
Last one. Do you feel the Premier distanced himself from your comments by not making any statement on them yesterday? No,
and with respect, I think you guys got the lead wrong last night when the Premier was quoted as saying, you know, he's on his own. I don't feel on my own. You know, you have to stand here, I think, if you're going to make an apology and on reflection and speak to that. But I don't feel that for a second at all. I know for the fact that I have the confidence and the support of the Premier. You know, and there was never a question of, you know, if he wanted my resignation, he'd have but to ask. And, you know, that would be that. And if I felt strongly enough about it, or even that it was of concern, you know, as far as getting the business of this government done, I would offer it. So that's just not the case. It hasn't arisen. You know, and of course people are going to call for it. That's what oppositions have done. I'm sure they'd love to get my scalp.
Minister, given that you said that the former Attorney General Hamilton expressed the same views as others,
yeah,
would it be fair to construe that now you've been obviously taken to the woodshed? Political?
I'm sorry? That was political? Of course it's political, but, you know, that doesn't mean that something good doesn't come out of it. I mean, I was a bit surprised because I congratulated Mr. Scott on his speech and, you know, agreed with what he expressed. I was proud of him for doing it and, you know, for taking the stand that he did. I did feel, you know, truth be told, that the comments that we made with regard to church and state and so on, and comments he may have made about the Bible were, you know, mine echo to him. Some may have been taken from my standpoint as being more offensive. I apologize for those. I'm not apologizing for Mr. Scott. But, you know, that's not the issue. My stuff is the issue here today. So
can we now satisfied that we can move on now to the business of the day?
I got to go back to work now. I mean, this is taking a lot of time, and I'd like to get on with that, and, you know, and not have people calling me upset or thinking that, you know, am I going to be safe or these types of things. You know, I want to get to work. I've got a lot of work on my desk to do. A lot of things have to be done, and we're doing it, you know, and I really am getting work done. I've got great staff and a great team around me, and, you know, we're getting things done. It's a lot of hours and a lot of time that people really don't know about. That's fine, we signed up for it, but we've got to get on with that now. I'd like to get on with that.